Des Moines, and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
It's Monday. How are you? 3:07 on the 8th day of February in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and welcome to the Monday edition of Mac's World Live, exclusively right here on 99.3. Ryan and Mike are producing. Frank the Verse Thomas in the house, and Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat, and the Service Legends Truth text line. So let me tell you how you can get that text line. I'd like you to write this down, or maybe, well, you know what I'll do? I'll tell you again a couple more times during the hour so you can write it down, but you ought to just put it in your phone or your address book or whatever it is. There's two numbers I want you to know. One is the Truth Text Talk line from Service Legends, and that's 515-809-0993. 515-809-0993. And then, of course, our live studio line. We'll get a sponsor for that one of these days. Right now, it's just the studio line. Is at 515-244-0077. What's the name of your... Do you have a name for your horse farm, Bob?
Well, it's...
the Montserrat Horse Farm?
Win Estates.
Win?
Yeah.
Like you win or lose?
The Oliver,
Yeah, W-Y-N-N.
The Oliver Wendell Douglas.
Win Estates. All right, so for right now, we'll make the studio line the Win Estates. Oh, is that because of that area out there? Is that...
No, it's my wife's maiden name.
Oh, okay. So you can also get us on the Win Estate studio line at 515-244-0077. Will that win you brownie points at home, or will you be in trouble?
Don't know.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble because there's a lot of people. I could put it on. Let's say I could. Who else could we get to sponsor the in-studio line? No,
Oliver Wendell Douglas.
The Oliver Wendell Douglas studio line. But that doesn't help anybody. You know, that just makes you think of an old guy on a tractor in a three-piece suit.
How about J. Michael McCoy's ballet dance studio line? That was on chat.
Somebody would suggest ballet studio. I don't have my granddaughter goes to ballet studio, though. That'd be good. All right, so, and then there is a chat that we run, too, at webcast1live.com. And, you know, eventually, I'm going to tell you, we are not too far away, guys. Hold on. I got that feeling in my nose I'm going to sneeze. We are not too far from having our own 993 The Truth website. We are less than, what is today, the 8th? We're less than 20 days away from our own 993 The Truth website. And on that website, you can connect directly to Webcast One Live. You can connect directly to our Win Estates in-studio line, and also to the Service Legends Truth Text Talk line at 809-0993. We're like 20 days away from that, and so that'll be fun. We have never had our own website for the radio station, because all the stuff I talk about here, and Frank talks about, and Bob talks about, and Chris talks about, we need to have a source for that so people can go and, you know, check that out, so we can have that there. So anyway, all right, so a wonderful weekend for most people. I hope you had a good weekend. I want to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, because first of all, I watched the whole thing, which is a rarity. I mean, I like football, don't get me wrong. I'm much more into college football than I am professional football. But I'm a Peyton Manning fan. I mean, I don't know what there is about that guy not to like.
My daughter saw him and said, "Who's that old guy throwing the ball?"
Seriously. Oldest quarterback in the history of the game to start and win a Super Bowl. And, you know, and he's 39 years old.
39 and 320 days old.
So he's almost 40.
Almost 40.
All right.
That's old. Well, football
if you're
player.
in football, yeah. Plus, yesterday was his 200th win, and that goes one win past.
Favre.
Is it Brett Favre?
I think so.
Okay, one. So he now has the record of the most wins for a quarterback. And yeah, it would have to be somebody who just played forever, and it would have to be somebody that played in the 16-game regiment. Because if you played back in the 12-game regiment,
14 game.
well, was it 14? Wasn't it 12 and then playoff and then Super Bowl?
No, I think, well, the Miami Dolphins went 14-0, if you remember.
Yeah.
And they won 3 playoff games, so they went 17-0, including the Super Bowl.
And then lost. No, they lost the Super Bowl, didn't
no,
they?
Miami Dolphins,
Oh, okay.
72 Dolphins.
That was before Marino,
Yes.
because Marino's
Yes.
never won a Super Bowl.
Now it went to a 16-game schedule, and they do 2 less preseason games.
Oh, really? So they play as many games, but they just count.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you didn't know anything about football.
When? I've been a football junkie all.
But you said you didn't watch the Super Bowl live.
Well, I didn't. I didn't watch the
Why
Super
not?
Bowl live.
If you're such a big fan.
I leaned Denver because I'm an old AFL fan, but I didn't care who won one way or the other. Although I am glad that Cam Newton kind of got shut down a little bit on his in-your-face hot dog showboating antics. But other than that, I didn't really care who won.
See, this tells you how much I watched football this year. That was the first time I've ever seen Cam Newton play.
Yeah.
To my recollection, certainly this year, I have not watched the Carolina Panthers. I mean, I think I watched a Bears game once. That's probably, isn't that terrible?
No, it's not. I mean, I've never seen Cam until I watched the game. And matter of fact, that's the first game I watched.
Yeah.
I only watch one football game a year.
Super Bowl.
Usually.
That's kind of, I have begun that way. I just don't watch it like I used to.
Mac watches one race a year. Can you guess which one it is?
No, that's not true. I watch
2.
more than one.
2.
I like Daytona
And
Indy 500.
Indy 500.
Yeah, Indy 500. Indy 500 is my Super Bowl. And it's kind of interesting. I'm married to this incredible woman most of the time. I'm married to this incredible woman who always makes sure that on the Sunday Memorial Day weekend, that whatever she's going to do, she doesn't expect me to do anything. Because I'm the guy that hunkers down in the room in front of the TV, and I've got, well, it used to be I had bottles of gin. Now, of course, I have cold water and whatever else I need, and I yell at the TV, and I don't. What does this say about me? Here, Bob, what does this say about me? I can't watch the race with somebody else. I cannot watch the Indianapolis 500 with somebody else in there because I don't want to answer questions. I don't want to, I just want to focus on that race. And the reason is my grandfather, my father's father, raced in the Indianapolis 500. And we have this big panoramic picture in our house of Grandpa in an old model something or another. It was a Ford and had a big barrel kind of over where the engine was. And so from a little kid standpoint, I was always an Indy 500 fan. And then I kind of became a Daytona 500 fan after it doesn't matter why. But anyway, about 20 years ago probably, I became I wasn't a NASCAR fan before that. I've always been an open wheel guy.
So for the Super Bowl, you could have somebody else sitting there watching.
Oh, yeah, that didn't bother me.
Okay.
That didn't bother me. Yeah, it's different. It's different on a Nebraska game. Now, my wife and I don't know why any of this is important to anybody, but my wife and I make a real good team in watching Nebraska because we both kind of, I'm her yin and she's my yang, and what she sees I don't, and what I see she doesn't, and so we'll talk back and forth, and sometimes couples can do a lot of things together, and sometimes they can do a few things together, and sometimes they can hardly do anything together. We're in the middle. We're in the few. And one of the things we can do together real well is watch a Nebraska football game because she's just as crazy as I am about it. So anyway, what were you going to say, Frank?
Well, I've got a couple that I went to church with for years, went to school with their daughters, and the guy can't hear and his wife can't see very well. So what he can't hear, she tells him what he can't hear, and he tells her what she can't see.
Well, that probably works out all right. By the way, I thought of you during the Super Bowl yesterday.
Oh, did you?
You remember? Do you know what commercial would have made me think of you?
Alcohol.
No. You know what's his first name, Bob?
Frank.
And so what commercial inside of the Super Bowl would make me think of him?
Well, I didn't see them all. So.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see any.
Remember all the little wiener dogs?
Oh, yeah. Frankfurters?
Frankfurters? Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. That's enough malarkey. So we are going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl and some of the commercials, although I'm not going to. Radio's kind of hard because there's such a visual commercial. And I'll be honest with you. I forgot about the commercial sometimes. Because if CJ would want something or, something going on in the house, I just put Super Bowl on pause. And then so I'd get to the commercial breaks and I'd fast forward through them. And I bet it wasn't until almost the first half was over I thought, oh,
right.
I've been missing the commercials.
That's part of the reason I watched the game.
Did you think
I'm
any
not
of
the brightest bulb in the bunch.
Did you think any of the commercials were extra special?
Well, as a pro-life guy, I love the Doritos with the ultrasound. And now I see on social media, and I don't know if it's just on social media or if it's actually in real media, that the pro-choice people are all mad because it's showing that an unborn child is a human.
Well, yeah, here it is. It's NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League.
Yeah, you have the right to kill your child.
Their
that's
statement
great.
was they were upset because they were using anti-choice tactic of humanizing fetuses.
Humanizing fetuses.
Yes.
Now, here's what I put on Facebook because I posted that. And I could have gone on with this long rant because this is something I'm passionate about. I just put 4 words. You can't fix stupid. I can't wait to die and go to heaven because I want to ask God some questions. And one of the questions I want to ask him is I want to see the brain of a pro-choice person because I don't think it's there.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1.
All right, good afternoon, 21 after 321, 8th day of February, Lord's year 2016. J. Michael McCoy, 515-244-0077. It's your voice I want to hear in Mac's World. Please feel free to call. Perhaps you have a question on a topic that we have yet to cover or we've passed covering it. It isn't going to hurt my feelings if you're just now getting to the phone and you're able to get in. So don't worry about that stuff. Sometimes when we're on certain topics, once we're past that topic, I'm not going to go back and take your call. So if you, unfortunately, were busy during the call or you don't talk while you drive or something, and I apologize for that. I just can't keep, I call that jumping rope. I can't keep going back. I can't keep going back. But it is your voice I want to hear. I mean that. You're the star when you're on the radio. And I've said this before, but my friend of mine heard me say this the other day, and they thought, you didn't mean that. I said, yeah, I did. I'm not the star of this show. Frank's not the star of this show. Bob's not the star of this show. You're the star. We do this because it's your voice we want to hear. Now, I'd like to be a caller-driven show, which means everything comes from the callers. But the radio station has to grow until we can do that. So at some point, we'll have calls stacked up, and we won't have any time to take all the calls. But we're getting there. We're growing. I mean, I can tell you that before we moved last July into Des Moines, oh my gosh, it was difficult. I had to send Frank down the skywalk to the coffee shop to call in just so I'd get a caller. But that's because we were only, servicing a very, 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 very small population. Now our population that we're serving is a little over 1.3 million, I think, is the actual number of potential listeners. So, and you're always welcome to call 244-0077. That's the Win Estates studio line. Win Estates, that's good. All right, back to the Super Bowl thing. Let's go back to that NAREL or whatever that is.
NAREL.
So tell me again why they're offended by showing an ultrasound with a baby in it. People, I just want you to, if you want to understand the opposition that folks like Tim Overland and Rebecca Maxwell and anybody else who loves babies and believes in God's creation, and that from the moment of conception, that is a human being, you can't fix stupid. And here's an example of stupid on the pro-choice side. Bob?
Well, they said that the Doritos ad using anti-choice tactic of humanizing fetuses. They also added the sexist tropes of dads as clueless and moms as uptight.
So, anti-choice tactics and humanizing fetuses. Okay. If it's not a human, what is it? See, this is the challenge when I do a show on radio with Christians. I don't think there's a soul out there that's pro-choice. If you're pro-choice and you're listening right now, please call me. I promise I'll be nice to you. I won't.
Till it's time to be not nice.
No, I want to be nice. I don't understand. I don't understand anybody who has a relationship with their creator can say that is not a human. And therefore, I have to sum to the fact that anybody who is pro-abortion doesn't have a relationship with their creator. Now, a whole bunch of Catholics will stand up at that point and say, no, that's not right. Because I've said it on this radio before. I don't know how Catholics can be Democrats. Because Democrats are pro-choice. It is in their platform that they're pro-choice. So why would you sign up for a club to be a member of the club when the club says you're not a human until I say you're a human? You're not a human at conception. You're not a human at 6 weeks, at 8 weeks, at 3 months, at 6. You're not even a human at 10 months if you have not popped out yet. I just don't get it. I must be stupid. Maybe I'm the stupid one.
Well, from their perspective, they can't concede 1 millimeter because their argument is so weak to start with that if they concede 1 millimeter, it will quickly unravel by progression. So that's why they are so hard line on abortion, is because they know it will come unraveled as soon as they concede 1 inch.
But medical science tells them they're killing a human being. How can we be humanizing a fetus when it's already a human? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't get it. But I'm not supposed to get it, I guess. I'm not supposed to get it. All right, 244-0077. That's the studio line. Plus, you can the Wynn Estates studio line. That's named after Bob's Horse Farm. And you can also text us on the Service Legends Truth Text Talk Truth line. Back that up. The Service Legends Truth Talk Text line at 809-0993. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat and the text line.
I think there's too many T's in that sentence.
It is a lot of T's. So, was anybody else just thrilled for Peyton Manning? Is that because I'm old? Is that why I had such a desire for him to win? Plus, did you see him praying? Did you see that shot? They were all the other players are out on the field. Okay, Peyton Manning has his back to the camera, and he is with his head. I think he was praying, his head down, and had his hands, in a praying position, and he was praying. And this was right before the Super Bowl.
Oh, before this, I didn't see that.
Yeah, before the Super Bowl.
I turned it on after that.
Yeah, before the Super Bowl. All right, 244-0077, just some other interesting news items that are going on. Bike lanes. Now, I'm not a biker. I'm not a motorcycle biker. I'm not a bicycle biker. I'm not a tricycle biker. I'm not a big wheel biker. I'm not a biker at all. Biker. No bike. This butt does not sit on a bike. But they keep putting in these bike lanes. The ones on Ingersoll drive me crazy. Well, now they're coming to my hometown. They're coming to the western suburbs. From 63rd to 73rd on University there in Windsor Heights, where they give out all the tickets and they make their budget for the year. They're now thinking about putting in bike lanes for that 10 blocks.
Why?
I don't know.
Why not?
Because the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. That's the way the Democrats think. Well, Mac, how did you go all of a sudden to the Democrats? Do you really think a Republican-run organization is going to approve money in these days and times for bike lanes? Why? Just get on the street and ride your bike. You already have permission.
Let me ask you this, Mac. What year did you get your driver's license? I assume about 16 years old?
No, we got 14 because we were farm, so we could. So I got my driver's license.
So you had a learner's permit,
late 60s.
Okay, so
no, I didn't get a learner's. We didn't have learner's permits back then. We just went straight to a farm license. Okay. You could drive back and forth to school, and then if you could prove you were driving for farming business, then you were okay.
Well, I had
one time I got stopped at 1 a.m. and I tried to convince them I was on my way to milk. And it was in between. There was no way they were going to believe it.
Okay, I'm 58. I got my license at 16. I was riding a bicycle to driver's education class, and I haven't looked back since. So, I'm not saying a bicycle isn't good for exercise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but for transportation in 2016 in the United States, baloney.
Well, and then there's those people who are riding bikes, in this kind of weather.
Yes, there's some hardcore guys out there.
And I'm okay with that. I just don't understand why we have to spend taxpayer money to give them their own special lane. Oh, it's safety. Oh, really? You want to go down the list of safety that we need to spend money on? It does not start with bicycles. Ooh, 244-0077. All right, let's get on a happy note here. I went and saw. Is that proper English, Robert? I went and saw.
You seen?
No, seen isn't right.
You saw.
I saw?
Sure.
So yesterday, one of the dates that my wife and I go on from time to time is we go to the Des Moines Community Playhouse. We take the grandkids to the Children's Playhouse downstairs, and we go to the other one upstairs. Sometimes we go on the Thursday night before it opens because it's really inexpensive, but that means I have to stay up late past dark. So usually my wife tries to get the Sunday matinee tickets. And yesterday we went and saw 12 Angry Men. Now, I will admit, I love the movie 12 Angry Men. It's if you were to say to me, Mac, what is one of your favorite movies? I could rattle off probably 3 or 4 off the top of my head, and 12 Angry Men would be one of them. It starred Henry Fonda. I think it was black and white. I mean, maybe they've colorized it now. And it's a story about 12 jurors who are put into this hot New York unair-conditioned jury room to determine whether this young man, I believe a teenager, is guilty of killing his father. And when they walk in, Henry Fonda is the only not guilty vote, and there's 11 guilty. And you probably can figure out how it goes from there, but I'm not going to tell you the surprise ending. Now, 12 Angry Men run, and by the way, this isn't an advertisement. I'm just doing this, okay? Chris will probably yell at me, but they're not paying for this. It runs through the 21st of February, and it is, it's not, I'm not going to really tell you it's wonderfully entertaining. It's a psychological drama. It is 12 people talking for about 2 hours, less a little bit of an intermission. And it's brilliantly written. It's been on Broadway. It's been made. I think they even made a different movie than like 10 years ago, I think. They made a newer version. But we're very fortunate in this community to have a vibrant community theater. In fact, I believe it's 100 years old this year or close to it. Maxwell Schaefer, who is Maxwell in the Morning on KIOA, is the lead guy. He plays Fonda, and Max is such a good actor. And, you know, being a guy that has watched this movie many, many times, I swear I think Maxwell even watched the movie because he had Fonda's whole talking points down, and he had his eye movements, and he had his body movements. Mannerisms. So anyway, he just did really good. And so if you're looking for something, is it family friendly? You know, I didn't notice, so it must have been. I didn't hear any language that was bad. I mean, it's not a funny movie or a play.
What was the guy that was being convicted? What was he being convicted of?
He had allegedly stabbed his father in the chest. And they had all these different circumstances in which they were sure he was guilty. And then they kept talking about reasonable doubt. And one by one, you know, it really wasn't Fonda that did it as much as it was the other people in the jury room, just one by one, whittled it down until eventually there was a reasonable doubt and they found him not guilty. Well,
I don't need to go see it now.
Yes, you do. Oh, I just told you, didn't I? Oh, crud. Okay, yeah. Well, but you should not go see it because you know the ending. I mean, that's pretty obvious what the ending's going to be. But you should go see it because of the incredible talent that we have in this community that gets up on that gets on that stage at the Playhouse. And I suppose we see two plays a year there in the main theater and then probably 2 in the children's theater. But this one's really good. This one's really good. All right, we're going to take our next break. Coming up in the next hour, a young lady's going to share a testimony that I heard last week at Testify. And I was so impressed with that testimony, I asked her to come in and share it with you on the radio here today. Plus, coming up in this hour, terrorism in America. ISIS in America. A new feature that we're going to do. You're never going to believe the report that we have found for our very, very first segment. Terrorism in America. It's coming up live here on The Truth 99.3. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed raters free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
"22 minutes before 4 o'clock, live here on The Truth, 99.3 Max World Live. Frank the Verse Thomas, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat, and the Service Legend Truth text line at 809-0993. Mike and Ryan producing, and coming up next hour, Heidi Bozeman. I heard this young lady's testimony last week, and I've never done this as long as I've had this show. We were hardly done with it, and I said, I want you on the radio next Monday. It is a fascinating testimony, and especially if you know someone who has been involved with emotional or physical abuse inside of a relationship or marriage. If you know somebody that is passionate about that, you should call them and tell them to listen starting at 4:06. Because Heidi has got, I don't know, she doesn't wilt. You know, she just barrels through it. She's like a bull in a china shop, and I mean that as a compliment. She just really has this figured out. She's done the deep dive. She's done the work to understand what happened to her, and now she can explain it to people, and there may be something inside of her story that can help you or someone you know. All right, it's time for the very first. Are you ready, Frank?
Yes.
This is the very first terrorism in America. Ryan, hit it.
You know, we've been telling you all about France's no-go zones, hundreds of Muslim-controlled areas around Paris. We have them here in the United States, too. I bet you did not know that.
Terrorism in America.
This article dated February 6th from Alan West. He's a good guy. I like him a lot. If you don't read his blog, you ought to. Just Google his name, Alan West. He says, one of the problems with the current battlefield on which we find ourselves engaged when it comes to terrorism in America, we're treating it like a police action rather than a combat operation. The battle against Islamist terrorists is not a law enforcement endeavor. Combat troops on this battlefield don't have the time to read anyone their Miranda rights or collect evidence. Furthermore, our rules of engagement are giving away the initiative to the enemy. Consider a recent testimony of an Afghanistan operational theater commander, General Campbell, before the House Armed Services Committee. When asked by Representative Jim Breinstein, Republican Oklahoma, a Navy fighter pilot, if he's authorized to attack the Taliban simply for being the Taliban, General Campbell responded, no. That means the enemy who seeks to kill our men and women deployed in Afghanistan cannot be attacked. Our troops have to sit back and wait to see if they're engaged first. So, folks, if you've ever been in a firefight, That just isn't right. You want to remind you about what retired Marine First Sergeant Jim Reifener says, quote, if you ever find yourself in a fair fight, it's because your tactics suck, unquote. And thanks to this current administration, our tactics really suck. However, it's not just in Afghanistan where we find the theater of the absurd. It's also right here in America, and it's coming to a town near you. That's terrorism in America. All right. I want to spend part of the next part of our program honoring someone, and the comments I'm about to make are not that of Bob or Mike or Heidi or Ryan. I don't even think Frank could think this way, and you'll see what I mean.
Let's see.
Over the weekend, one of Des Moines' most prominent business people and members died. And, of course, that is a gentleman by the name of David Hurd. David Hurd, the former principal financial CEO and well-known community member, died Saturday after falling from the 22nd floor of the Plaza Condominiums complex in downtown Des Moines. He was 86. Architect Mike Simonson, who I know, wrote on the Register's Facebook page, I saw David on Tuesday, and his final comment to me was, quote, I think I made a good decision to move to Iowa. Then he smiled, knowing I, too, am a transplant from Illinois. He indeed made a good decision and embraced Iowa. David will be missed. Hurd was an Illinois native, attended Michigan State, moved to Des Moines in 1954 after serving in Korea. He finally joined what at that time, of course, was Bankers Life, and later on was part of the team that converted it over to the Principal Financial Group after it separated out from the Ruan family. David Hurd did so much for our community. He was in the Downtown Partnership. He was involved in almost everything that happened in downtown through the city council over the last 30 years. Former Lieutenant Governor Sally Peterson said, I think of him as very rare and visionary, who was ahead of his time. He was a very progressive thinker. Anyway, if you go through the Des Moines Register and things like this, it'll go on and on and on and on. One of the things he did that was controversial 20 years ago was he began to make it very comfortable for someone in the LGBT ? Community to work in the Des Moines workplace, especially Principal and other insurance companies. He strived to make before it was cool or before it was the law, if you were LGBT, you not only were welcome at Principal, but you felt like you were welcome, which caused Hurd some problems from time to time. He suffered from a disease called Lewy body disease, Lewy body disease. Have you ever heard of that, Robert? Look that up, would you? According to the Mayo Clinic, the disease is a very rare type of dementia and is the second most common type of progressive dementia. People with LBD can show Parkinson disease-like symptoms such as rigid muscles. Here's one of the reasons I'm bringing this up. First of all, I had the opportunity to work with David Hurd on some projects. I'm not really going to tell you we were friends, and don't read that the other way, that we were enemies. I'm just, I'm not a name dropper, and if I'm going to talk about somebody and I tell you I know him, I'll tell you I know him. But, if I called David Hurd and said to his secretary, tell him Mac's on the phone, my guess the secretary would come back and say, Mac, can we have your last name, please? So we were just aware of each other. We did sit on the governor's conference for a couple years together. The police department, and this is in the second to the last paragraph, police said at the time that the death was being investigated as a suicide. The person who was seen falling was later identified as Hurd. Police have ruled out criminal activity related to the death. Now, why does that have to be in the story? That's what I don't understand. The guy falls from a 22nd story balcony, his personal balcony, of his home, not from the roof, not from somebody else's place, from his balcony. Unless he left a note or told his wonderful wife, Trudy, what he was about to do, why, and I even called the police department today because I wanted to ask him about this, and I didn't get, it was my fault. I should have called him earlier. Why in heaven's name would they use that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-letter word suicide? Now, Bob, you were in the DCI for 35 years. Tell me officially, now I guess you can't say officially because you're not there anymore, but why would that be put in there? What would, if there's no note, and Trudy didn't say anything, or he didn't say to anybody, listen, goodbye, I think I'm going to end it all. Why would they even put that in there?
Well,
it kind of makes me mad that that's in there.
When I saw that, and when I heard how old he was, I thought, I don't even think it's suicide. That was the first thought that came to my mind, being 86 years old. And now that you read that, this is this Lewy bodies, whatever. I haven't heard of that, but it talks about a progressive dementia that leads to a decline in thinking, reasoning, and independent function. I mean, it's one of those things that it could be accidental.
That tells me he walked out on the balcony and he lost his balance.
I would suspect that.
Didn't know. I don't know. And like I said, I'm not trying to give the newspaper heck, and I'm really not chewing on the police. I don't understand why you'd even suggest that unless there was evidence, and then I think it should say, and the police are looking at evidence which would prove it to be a suicide. All right. We're coming back, and then later on, Heidi Bozeman and her story, her testimony. You're going to love it. It's live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Ten minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network news. And then Heidi, now I said the name wrong, Boomsma. Booms.
All right.
Boomsma. I'll get that wrong. I'm just going to call her Heidi. She spoke at Testify last Wednesday, which is always the first Wednesday of the month at the Pizza Ranch in Urbandale, right there at 8035. And she gave her testimony, and she was just rock solid. Not that most people, when they give their testimony, aren't rock solid, but it's like, well, I'll let you figure it out for yourself. I don't want to give you any preconceived notions, but part of her testimony is about emotional and physical abuse. And I don't think I've ever heard someone speak about it with such grace It wasn't angry. It wasn't vindictive. It was what it was. And she was here to share it with us because it was part of her story. So I asked her to come on the radio, and she's going to share it with us. And I'm sorry I have sniffles today, as Frank so lovingly pointed out. I don't know if I am not allergic to anything. Nothing. But for some reason, the last couple of weeks, I don't have a headache. I don't have a cold. I don't have a sore throat. I don't have any of the other symptoms. But I got sniffles. And my wife thinks maybe it's because we had all the carpet in the house cleaned by a brand new company that uses a chemical that I don't think maybe I'm supposed to breathe in or something.
Or you could be developing allergies. That's a possibility, too.
In the middle of the winter, though?
Sure.
I thought you only got allergies in the spring or the fall.
No, I mean, you're in a home. You're closed in. Could be a furnace filter. Could be, other things.
I need to have Brian Leach come out and check my furnaces then. All right, so 515-244-0077. Jill, I do not have Facebook available to me today, but Jill started to say on my phone that she had a friend that apparently passed away from this LBY. Is that what it was? Whatever it was that David Hurd had.
Oh, LDWY.
LDW.
Yeah, it's dementia with Lewy bodies.
And what does that mean? Is that just somebody's name that they named it after, probably?
Well, they call it, it's a type of progressive dementia that leads to decline in thinking, reasoning, and independent function. That's what they say.
I was sad when I read this story about him in the paper today. That there's no mention of any faith, any religious activities, or membership. I mean, the guy was just rock solid. But he was not a believer, as far as I know. And it's hard for me sometimes to read the story of a person's life and not see some recognition of our Creator. And that happens. It's okay. If you are a Calvinist, you'd say, well, it's not his fault. He wasn't one of the chosen. And I'm not judging him by any means because he was a great guy. I mean, what he did for our community, we'll never be able to measure what a gentleman like that does for our community. But a few years ago, I ran a Bible study with a guy. And the whole Bible study was about looking at obituaries and how you can tell a lot about a guy's life from their obituary. And the first thing you look at is, where's the service? Is it at a church or is it at the funeral home? Now, my guess is if you belong to a church and that's a part of your life, that's where you're baptized, that's where you're married, that's where you confirm your kids, or you baptize your kids, and then you confirm them, and maybe the kids get married there, and eventually your funeral's there. Now, maybe that's old school. Maybe I'm just, once again, showing how many rings I have on my trunk. But as I looked at today's obituaries in the Des Moines Register, more than half of them had no association with a church. Wonderful people. In fact, here's a woman who also died by Lewy body dementia. That's in today's paper. She developed Parkinson's disease, then followed by that LBD. Now, I've never heard of this in my life, and now we have two of them. But it just shows you how important that Matthew 28 is. And I know, Frank, you're passionate about Matthew 28, and that is go out and preach the gospel to everyone that you possibly can.
Every nation, kindred, and tongue.
And, show them the everlasting love of Jesus Christ. And if you believe that God has put you on this earth for a purpose, I got to be careful here. I got to believe there's a little Matthew 28 in everybody's purpose. Now, obviously, you take a guy like Mike Householder or a Billy Graham or, somebody like that, Gary Pilcher, some of those great preachers that we've got in our community. Obviously, that is probably the primary gift and purpose for their life according to God's will. But I don't think there's one of us who has a relationship with Jesus who doesn't prepare yourself for that moment in an elevator, that moment on an airplane, Just that moment, wherever it might be. Or you might get 7 seconds. You might get 7 minutes to share the gospel with someone. Do you have your elevator speech? If you had a very, very limited amount of time to share what Jesus means to you, do you have that in your head? Ted Roberts, who's a good buddy of mine, who was a state legislator in Texas for many years and then moved up here to run his family company, recently sold his company and moved back down to Texas. But the man was stellar on the book of Romans. And he used to say, he's got a 33-word elevator speech. And I'm not going to get it out. I'm not going to get it in 33 words. But basically, you know what it is. Jesus came to earth, born of a virgin, died on the cross, and then 3 days later was resurrected by his creator, Father God. His Holy Spirit then enters into each one of us. And it was because of that death on the cross that we received the free gift of salvation to spend an eternity with him in heaven. Now, that's a little longer than 33 words, but it took me 11 seconds. Do you have yours? Here's the way I start a relationship with somebody I don't, or here's the way I start that conversation with somebody I don't have a relationship with. I'm rather bold. Hi, do you have a relationship with Christ? And if they give you a funny look and they say, well, no, I mean, I go to church. I'm very religious. Pray for them right away, because religion is squat. Religion is man's invention to try to put Jesus and God in a box that you can control. I've got a relationship with my Savior, and it is so out of the box, it's whacked, as my grandson would say. I'm learning new lingo from my 6-year-old grandson. It's whacked, Grandpa. That's a good thing, I guess. So I want you to just think about that, because next time maybe you'll run into somebody the day before their obituary's in the paper, and maybe that's the day that God gave you the purpose and the desire to share the gospel with somebody, because you never, ever know when God's going to impact your life that way. All right, we're coming back after Salem Radio Network News here on The Truth 99.3.